6:30, folks. Let's start. I'm sure people will be coming in. I want to welcome everybody to our one of a series of PI seminars that we're hoping to have this year. Tonight's topic is cost-effective technology options for effective club meeting and event support. And our guest, our presenter, is Rotarian Greg Grichtmeier. Did I say that right? Grichtmeier? Sure or not?
There's 6 households in America, and we all say it differently.
Okay.
I say Grichtmeier.
Well, if you say it, it's your name.
It's your name.
That's it. And Greg is a Rotarian at the Middlesex County Rotary Club. He's an expert on the hardware needed to successfully operate an engaged Rotary Club. Greg was on a Zoom meeting with me a couple months ago, and with Diane, with Mitty Chang, and Mitty was doing a thing on Zoom and how to have a better hybrid Zoom meeting. And Greg came in and had some great information, as did Mitty. And because of him, I ordered this thing right here. It's a gimbal. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah.
I ordered that, and I've taken some videos with that, which is pretty cool. And I also ordered a mic, a remote mic, which I use to mic up people when I'm interviewing them. Greg has been a consultant for designing, deploying, and rebuilding complex contact centers. He served as a lead solution architect or a consultant for some of the largest government call centers built in the last 15 years. And he is a tech geek, and that's his terminology for his Rotary Club, the Middlesex Rotary Club. He helps build Facebook pages, he does website stuff, and he uses his project management skills to assist his club. He's also a tech consultant for this year's District 7610 conference. It's going to be in Charlottesville at the DoubleTree Hotel, April 29th through May 1st. And Greg's a 5-year Rotarian, right, Greg? You've been in about
maybe,
5 years?
Maybe a little longer.
And as soon as you said, as soon as you came in, you were made the tech guy. Yeah, which happens. I understand that.
Go figure.
And yes, and he so when COVID hit, he lobbied to have his meetings continue with Zoom, and it came out great. Everybody was happy, as happy as you can be in a pandemic, I guess. And as I understand it, his Rotary Club loaned him out to certain community groups to help them build websites, Facebook pages, and etc. So without further ado, I take it away, Greg.
Thank you so much. Along the lines of my past careers, I just recently, I was working for IBM, and I was one of the adults running Census 2020 because I was one of the adults sitting at the, I don't know what you're going to call the conference room table that designed 2010.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
so
cool.
I used to tell people it's the call center Super Bowl. I mean, where else do you hire 10,000 people to work for 3 months? I mean, it's you know, if anybody's ever hired and fired people, just do the math. Interviews for 30,000 people, right? So if it's okay, I would like this evening to be more Q&A. I have a lot of technology, of which maybe I just do a brief run through of some of the components that I feel are important. I am going to primarily gear this around live streaming, like with Zoom or going to Facebook or to YouTube. But many of these things apply for recording things also. And then let's do a lot of Q&A. I have technology spread around my office like you wouldn't believe. So I back to the point of being able to hold up stuff. I can hold up just about anything in here right now. Now I am using a green screen. So what you'll notice when I do this, my face will turn a little green. And then it's because I have a giant 24-inch monitor in front of me that's green. And then when I turn the keyer on, it'll actually show some of the that I have. Okay, and now I'm spotlighted. I don't want to do share screen if it's okay. So you guys might have to go full screen if you've got me off in a little window. Well, let's just start with my desk right now. This is the crazy desk I have in front of me. Actually, I'm going to turn this off for 1 second, and I'm going to go all the way to the top. Let's do this and turn the keyer back on. And then the broadcast piece, I kind of preach some real basic things. The starting point is audio. In any video, without good audio, it's useless. If the audio goes out, no one's going to watch a video, doesn't have any audio. The next thing is lighting. And I'm going to talk a little bit about cameras, but with good lighting, you can overcome poor quality in some of the videos.
Right.
And the last one, namely, if you're live streaming, you got to plug in the network cable, the blue wire. You can't use wireless. Even with us all talking here on Zoom, admittedly, I live in the country, so my internet going out is not my own fault. It's because I live in the country. But having that blue cable eliminates a lot of the Wi-Fi related problems you might have. And then obviously having a good connection, if you can kick everybody off for a little while, the better. The next thing in that audio chain, and everything you see on this little screen, I actually have. So the Behringer products I like because they're value products. They're less expensive than some of the high-end production equipment, but they offer lots of functionality. The lowest corner one here, I'm trying to think of how to point, but the Flow 8 and the little USB Behringer, they're both designed around being interfaces for computers. So the idea being is that you can have a regular mixer with real microphones and features and route that audio into a computer via USB. So great for things like Zoom. The upper two are more for like when we do the conference and we need a whole series of microphones or a panelists on a stage, that type of thing. And just off camera, I have that little Sennheiser microphone right here. So I don't think it's quite there, but I could, everything's tied to it. I was gonna say I could drag it into focus, but that's all that is just a little Behringer microphone. I do think there's an opportunity to use wireless, and in that conference here a couple months, I guess it's been over a month, I did talk about this specific product, which I just generally love. This little guy is a little microphone. It's got a little microphone on, I can actually make it focus if I get out of the picture. It's got a little microphone on the top. It does have a plug where you can plug in a lavalier microphone that would be on your shirt. And then if I can kind of, maybe I'll stick it here for a second. Otherwise, you can clip it onto yourself. And it also has a camera shoe on the bottom, meaning it will slide into that camera mount on the top of like with that flash mount years ago, it'll slide into that. I also have, and these weren't that expensive. I think they were like $30 for two of them. I had these little interview mics, and all you do is you slide the microphone into the plastic holder and then put a cover on it. Great for, you were talking about trying to get some interviews. This would be great for something like that because we could literally walk around. Now it's line of sight, so you can't be too far away, but if you're holding a camera and you're trying to film somebody, you're not that far away. The next one, I'm going to talk a little bit about cameras. I have like 2 slides. The first one is having a real camera with a real lens on it allows you to do the bokeh effect. And the bokeh effect is really that the person in front is in focus and then the background is blurred. It's not always appropriate to do if you're trying to get like a group shot or something like that, that'll throw things off. But if you're trying to do like an interview in front of other people, or if, in our case, we often have a guest speaker who's standing at a podium, it's perfect for that because it fades out anything in the back that we might not otherwise want to see, dirty wallpaper or, wallpaper. So it's a good way to cheat. When you evaluate cameras, and many of us have the things like the old Nikons or the Canons and things. The only thing is that some of them for licensing reasons, are limited to provide video for up to 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, the camera will shut off. It was a way for the film industry to try to stop cameras from entering the market. But for many of us, you know, guest speakers, they're often half an hour, something like that. You just got to be conscious of it before you start. So you'll turn the camera on right before they begin to speak, and know that you've got a timer in there. Also, which I am using now, which I'll play around with a little bit, I do have a PTZ camera. PTZ cameras, and oh, that's pan, tilt, zoom. They often have a smaller sensor in there, so they often do not get enough depth. So the focus range is usually quite large. So you really can't get that bokeh effect, for example, but it's great for capturing from a long distance, or if you're trying to zoom in on any one specific person in a group. I used it for our candidate forum that we did for the county, where we had about 4 people, up to blades, you know, faces from the people sitting next to them, or gestures or body language of crossing their arms. So great for zooming in, great for wide audience type shots where you want, where focus isn't as important. And the little thing at the bottom is a little graphic here. I keep pointing the wrong way. It's over here. The lighting and in the cameras, you want to check it in all levels of light. When you buy lights now, they come on this scale. I'm trying to remember what the numbers are. I think it's about 8,500 is sunlight. Of course, we're doing this at night, and I think these are set at 3,800 or something like that, 3,500. So it's a lot warmer. My color is probably showing a little bit redder too, probably to offset the green a little. So keep that in mind. I do have, this is something that I'm going to shine in the camera so everybody can see. I have this fill light. Fill lights do a wonderful job. They provide great light. The only concern is most people that we are going to have speak to our clubs aren't going to want a bright light shining in their face. You can do a better job with bigger. They're just not going to be as comfortable with light. And in our Rotary Club, we have a difficult time. The room we meet in is very dim, but I just couldn't see putting bright lights on people. For the interview idea, or if you're mobile or you're at an event, I strongly encourage incorporating a light into your camera rig so that you can travel with it. Let's see here. And I think the next thing, this is a little specific to me. I do camera switching. So I like, there's basically 2 schools of thought. The first one is hardware switchers, and the Atem Mini products that came out, I guess it's now been 2 years. They are phenomenal. They allow you to bring in multiple feeds from cameras that do not have the same resolution or frame rate, and it will scale up or down appropriately for your output. They also act as a webcam. So right now I'm running this through an Atem. So it's telling the computer that it's just a webcam. It has audio jacks that you can put into it. And then in my bigger unit, I can actually record at the same time. If I have to record on this one, I actually have to take out the webcam. It's got 1 port and it acts for both, but you can record to solid state drives, like, you know, the T5s and T7s, they work wonderful. And then the other school of thought, and by the way, these also stream directly to the internet. So Facebook and YouTube, you don't need a computer. So this device will stream directly. You still have to configure the the page to accept the video and such, but you do not stream out of the computer. You can stream directly out of these devices. The software route, the most common thing is vMix and OBS. OBS is free. It's open source. The concern I've always had with that is that it's great for one camera, maybe two. After that, you're putting a lot of resource load on the computer. And in those cases, you often find yourself wanting to buy a more and more expensive graphics card computer, and you're up to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a laptop or a computer that will actually drive enough camera shots, depending on what you're trying to do. We tend to do two. We tend to do one for our guest speaker, and then one that's, which I have hooked up, a GoPro that actually shoots out into our group where we're having breakfast and asking questions, and we basically toggle between two. Still use the hardware switcher, but we only found ourselves needing two. And then one last thing that I want, well, I've got one more thing after this too, but let's have a brief discussion. Maybe we save this more for the end, is that there are some ways to save money when it comes to this equipment that you're often engaged with. TechSoup.org is a great place to start. They provide, at a fee, they provide access to nonprofit discounts with many of the largest organizations. So two I called out. There's one like Microsoft is one of the ones that you can go through the Microsoft nonprofit process. They allow you up to 10 licenses of like the Office 365 per year. It's very cumbersome. But if you sign up for TechSoup.org, which they encourage you to do, and you go through the process with TechSoup, then they just accept that and you can roll through it. Google has a similar program. The two I called out here, which might be appropriate for what we're trying to do, is the Zoom. They have a fee of $57. And then at that point, it's at 50% discount. Not that helpful for things like this, the meetings. But when you get to the business side of it, you're saving a little bit. If somebody needed to do a Zoom room, that's quite a savings. What is that? $200. And then for webinars, which I can talk to folks at the end, that's a significant savings over the retail price. And even some things that we all end up using, things like QuickBooks, they have a discounted rate for the downloadable version, which I believe at 70, I think it was running either $199 or $169 or $179, somewhere in there. And so it's $78. It's a great savings. And the last one I'll leave you with is, before I get into whatnots, is if you've got to do any kind of video editing, even if it's, in this case, we're recording tonight, if you felt that you wanted to trim this video or get this video and pull excerpts out of it, that type of thing, learn DaVinci Resolve. It's one of the most powerful video editing programs available, and it's free. The company Blackmagic wants to sell hardware. And the way they're doing that is by giving away certain components free. And like this, very, very powerful software. So with that, I will exit out of my little whatnot screen. And just to prove to everybody how chaotic, actually, I'm going to leave this. Well, I shouldn't do that. I've got, let me close down a couple of things so it doesn't overload my screen. I could probably just show you this one. So this is where I'm sitting right now in my utter chaos. So I was talking to you, actually, I've got that on camera now that I realized. I was talking to you guys on my Sony camera there. Behind it is a confidence monitor for me to know what's going out to everybody. I do have my switcher in front of me. That's this guy here. I also have my Stream Deck, which is how I'm actually changing all the, how's that going to do? There you go. How I'm actually changing the camera. If I go down, I can actually adjust this camera by pressing buttons, which is a great feature for us that don't want to have to run software. We can just have buttons in front of us. And then my Atem Extreme, which I'm currently not using. Oop, that camera shot's off by a little bit. Let me see. I could go down here, go down a little bit. This is my little screen that tells me all the camera shots that I have available to me. And I've got, like I mentioned, the GoPro sitting behind me. I've got myself. Oh, and this is what I was going to show you for lighting. Let me see if I can do this easily. If I go to 6 here. All right. So this is an iPhone 6S Plus running Filmic Pro right next to my Sony. And I've got a light bulb. I can almost touch it. It's probably, gosh.
You're dropping out there, Greg.
Yeah, I'm switching stuff. That's my fault. I need to switch less. All right. Am I back?
You are. Yes, thanks.
All right. So with that, ask away some questions.
Diane, there's a couple questions in the chat room. Do you want to? Well, I'll tell you.
Well, I can read those out. You want me to go ahead and read them out?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be wonderful.
In order.
In order. Well, gee, it was Dave Borowski asking, where's the best place or what are your suggestions to purchase some of the equipment? Or do you have a list somewhere or?
I do. And I don't know if this will work. Let me see here. Can I put this into the, tell me if this, now do me a favor though, everybody, don't click on all these and go off navigating on the web. Wait until later.
Pay attention right now, right. Or we can, maybe you could provide a list with links and we can include it.
I put it in chat. Is that clickable?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It should be. Yeah, it is. Oh, great, great.
My brother-in-law is in the industry, and DVE store this week helped him out. There's products. Oh, by the way, that's an interesting thing. This chip shortage is real, and he's trying to get a device that's just not available. And he called the DVE store out in Portland, I think it is, and they didn't have it, but they told him who did. And I think that is phenomenal customer service. They did the same thing for me. When my Extreme was on order, it was back ordered and back ordered and back ordered. I kind of got up to a line where I needed to do an event, and I called them and they said, yeah, ours look like they're not going to come, but this person's got some, give them a call. I think that is phenomenal customer service. So absolutely. I'm going to recommend them. I also, anybody who signs up for an account at Sweetwater, who they're better known for audio, but they do everything. They'll give you a, what do you call it? Like a representative. They'll actually give you a specific tech person, customer service person to talk to, which I also think is wonderful customer service. So they're high on my list.
Do they have, is it discounted for nonprofits, or is it just generally flat across?
Interestingly, B&H, which I didn't put on the list, I should have done that. B&H probably does a better job for some of that. They're out of New York City. B&H photo. I'll put it in there.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'd be great.
Can we?
Go ahead.
Can we go? Does that answer your question, Dave, for right now?
Absolutely. Yes. No, that's good. That's great. Perfect.
Send it out to folks. Let's see. My thing's scrolling. Pat Borowski, do you want to share what you were inquiring about here?
Yeah, I thought maybe if we could have a little bit of a conversation as to the great benefits of doing some live streaming and, video production that you put on your website or Facebook page. It is a real attraction, not just for your members, but for people outside, because they want to see people talk, showing them your service projects. And if you're doing international projects, ask your partners to be, videotaping that live, and you can upload it to your Facebook page and your website. And it's wonderful.
The challenge I'll give you though, is that if you are doing something live, you really need to start thinking about the engagement component of it and how you actually get those people involved. Everybody will tell you that it's either virtual first, meaning you design the program around a virtual experience only, and you add people after, which is fine, or it's a personal event. The hybrid piece is not something that designs well. It's very difficult. But if with Rotary, I find that we have a lot of manpower. You can actually build engagement, meaning if you think through the virtual component, how you would do this virtually, and you apply that to a hybrid environment, you can maintain that engagement. And you need people. Like, I'm not sure if we have it active, but breakout rooms or something that we've been playing with, and people can have individual conversation. Right. It's that fellowship part that's missing.
Sure.
Also, we're using chat, but there are products out there that will help you and do the engagement piece. I've not found something that I want to recommend. I've honestly had great success with like Google Sheets and things like that for us that are working it, because we could share a Google spreadsheet that had information on it, questions, for example, and then you could have somebody color coding it or assigning them to people and sorting it and things like that if we had a large conference or a large engagement going on. So as much as I think streaming is valuable, engagement is more valuable if you can bring those people into the fold.
So maybe to it's Diane, maybe Pat, to your point, it's like maybe capture some video and interviews and stuff, not necessarily do it live, but then, I mean, I actually use simple things like even Canva now has a easy editing tool, and so does, where you can like splice things together so that at least you've got, when you publicize it, you've got something that's more engaging and interactive versus live of the moment. Is that?
Yeah,
is that
and to your point, Greg, in terms of the engagement element, I know that we have had meetings where obviously we're working together. We'll use a whiteboard in terms of that, and then actually go to the breakout rooms. We give people some little assignments.
Yep.
There's several of them. They do work. They come back again. That is, especially in the pandemic, my class of district governors was the first class to ever do anything virtually. And we wound up doing everything virtually, our international conference, everything. So there's a place for both, and getting familiar with the kinds of things you're talking about, Greg, and helping clubs understand how to walk through that process, I think is so important. And thank you for your talent and sharing it with us. I'm certainly learning.
Were there other questions?
Or does anybody want to jump in with some questions? We've got another one from Dave here. That Dave, you say you use Mac iMovie. So we want to ask your question.
Yeah, I just want to know, Greg, is DaVinci Recorder, is this program available for Macs, first of all?
Yes.
iOS.
Yeah.
And
not iOS. It's still a computer.
Oh, okay.
So
got it.
Mac OS and Windows.
Mac OS. And how does it compare to iMovie? I have a Mac and I use iMovie, and I do edit stuff. I edit, like I'll be editing this stuff, the front end of this video, and I'll slap on your name and the date and stuff, and I'll put some stuff at the end. So that's what I do, and I occasionally will edit stuff in between, occasionally, but not much. Is it a comparable product to iMovie? Is it better than iMovie? And I think
iMovie,
if you use iMovie.
iMovie is beginner, and Resolve is
Okay.
It's at the high end of the market right now.
Okay.
And reason why it's important to me, or why I use it, is that extreme model I have, or even this little guy, when you record, it actually records the program that you switched. So, and Ann was on here, so Ann's gonna probably want to jump in and correct me, but for the church, we use 3 cameras. We have 2 PTZ cameras and 1 laptop.
Okay.
And they basically switch between all 3. But what is powerful is that in the device, it records not only the program you put out, but it also does each camera, and if each camera had audio, a separate audio track for every camera connected.
Wow.
And they give you a project file. When you open DaVinci, you bring all of those files in. If you missed a cut where you jumped before you should have, or you should have cut a moment later,
Right.
you literally just slide a bar and it moves it in the program.
Wow.
And if you decided I didn't like that cut at all, like I wanted to be looking at something different, you just change the camera focus.
Oh, wow.
And they have the ability to bring in any kind of video into the software, multiple videos, like we're talking about here, the interviews or whatever. And if things were all going on in the same room, and we had somebody capturing on an iPhone, somebody capturing on a Mine, or a couple of different videos, the background noise is all the same. So you could bring all of those in together and cut between them live. Like you can actually hit buttons on your keyboard, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll actually create a show of the live. And you could use the audio tracks that blend together because the background audio would all be the same. It's very powerful stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, there's a couple, they just put out a whole series of videos on their site. So Black Magic Design on YouTube. And there's one specifically that just did that. They did like a rock band, and they had like the singer, and they're like, oh, we didn't want the singer because she was out of focus because they had people doing it. And they're like, well, let's cut to the bass guy. And so they cut to the bass guy instead and all that. Wonderful.
Hey, Greg.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hey, Greg, Carl Braun here from Matthews. How are you tonight?
I made a bad joke about living below sea level, but it's okay.
It's all right. We got our boots on, so that's our Nike down this way. So we're good to go. We are trying to get into it as our club. We've been had some good successes with using an iPhone, but we are really looking for what we need to do just to get started. We were considering potentially using an iPad, because it connects to the Wi-Fi. It has a camera. We could save it. Yep. It was a cost-effective solution to get us started. Or would you recommend that the club buy a computer, a little more sophisticated? But where's a good place to begin this so we could reach the plateau that you're at and your colleagues here?
I'm going to stress over and over again that I'm a believer in, and it's funny, I'm sitting here looking at my see, this is how complex I could get in a moment. So if I go to camera 4 over here, camera 4 over there, and I go to camera 4 over here, this is kind of funny. This is my iPad using AirPlay into an Apple TV that's hooked to the other deck, but it's specifically about, this was for the church. So did you spotlight me? I could spotlight myself.
Oh,
okay. There you go. Thank you. So this is exactly what I did for the church, which is, I went through an outline of these devices and let me go back this way. Let me see. Do I have, I thought I had the models in here. Oh, maybe I don't. Oh, shucks. We went through the cameras. Oh, I do not. I apologize. The Atem Mini Pro Iso is probably the one I like the best. I think it's $800. And that device itself allows for 4 inputs. It can stream directly to the internet. It just needs a network connection. It can record directly to a hard drive, like the T7 I was holding up a minute ago. And it can take in the cameras that you were just thinking of, which is an iPhone that somebody has, they bring to the service. You can plug it in. You just need one of these little, I got all my things lined up. You need this little dongle from Apple that has the one's power and one's HDMI. I am sure there's somebody in the club that has a professional camera. They very often have do I have one floating around? Let me see. I may not. But they often have various kind of cables that would be used to
Right.
get USB-C in this case to HDMI, or HDMI mini is the other popular one. It's like this size. Oh, I got to put
Right.
it for it to come through. Have people bring the cameras to club, you know,
Okay.
and then just use people's personal cameras. I'm not sure when you joined. We were talking about at the very beginning, though. Some of the nicer ones, the Nikons, Canons, things like that, try it. Many of them have a preset 45-minute limit.
Right.
So once they start to stream, they'll actually power off the camera.
Right.
So you just
I was
gotta,
part of that. What would you think about, just from the very basics though, just getting going? Would an iPad suffice with the camera? So, okay.
yeah. Well, and the newest iPad, like I have, you guys were just watching that on, oh no, actually that was my older iPad. The newer iPad, the one that's got all the funky cameras on it and stuff, it now will follow you too. So the camera will do an attempt at keeping you in frame, which is awfully nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So the difficult thing is, how do you get it close to them? If I can make a recommendation on, gosh, where am I at? Is it down here? Get a decent tripod if anybody buys one. They are, let me go back up. Where's, no, what am I wanting to
Because
do?
as you look for the tripod, what I'm understanding you say is that we could ultimately then start with the iPad, get going. It has the Wi-Fi connection in it. It can store, and then later on we could use it if we decide to get a bigger computer. We could use that as one of our inputs as well.
Yeah,
As a camera source. Okay.
yeah. I'm the Atem thing is really because it does all the heavy lift. I can't even get close enough to this thing. I had light down there too. There's not enough light in my office this time of night. Well, oh well. Let me see. I'll cut over. Is that? Nah, you can't see it. The tripod that's way down the other end of my office has a liquid adjustment and a handle. And you can mount almost anything to a tripod. It's a 1/4 mount, but it has that liquid movement. And so regardless of what you put on it, it controls how quick you move. That's one of the gripes I have about the PTZ cameras, is that they sometimes are set to move so quickly. If you're ever looking at this on a large screen or a big screen TV, it's very jarring. So you got to move slow. And then back to the gimbal discussion, that might be something in the club that somebody might do. This is $150, I think it is these, this is made by DJI, and these things are phenomenal.
And they're neat. They really are.
And I was just, the price is the key thing. So I'm just framing it up. I'll double click a button. It'll change to landscape. And then as I move my hand, it moves slowly to wherever I move my hand and point. And these types of things are wonderful. This one actually has a little tripod attached. You might unscrew this and put a light on it, like we were talking about. So you could screw the light onto the bottom if you had to illuminate a subject. But this also has a feature in it that when in the software, if you basically pinch and zoom on somebody's face, it'll follow them around the room. You could just put it on the tripod and it'll follow them. So if you've ever had, I bring it with me because I've always been nervous about the gentleman that came and gave a, what was he? Oh, he was doing the thing about, he was from Dominion, and he kept moving over to the projected screen and then moving back to the podium. And I'm like, oh, and I didn't want to start moving the camera. And I'm like, next time I'll have that, and I can just frame him and it'll follow him as he walks around the front of the room.
Well, I'll tell Ricky not to move quite so much next time he presents to you guys, as Ricky's my neighbor. So
There you go.
he
There
said
you
he
go.
had a great time up with you guys.
Yeah,
So,
he actually, I got to tell you though, if I've been debating putting his, I haven't reached out to him, but I've been debating putting his presentation up on the internet, because a lot of people need to hear that story about, you know, what's coming and how it's going to come.
good stuff. Is there a particular iPad, you said the newest one, you think is worth the money?
You got to get, you got to get a decent iPad. The cameras, it's all about the cameras.
Okay.
And then again, is there somebody in your club that's geekified a little bit that might have one?
No.
No. I'm trying to avoid you having to buy the
I think the club's
Buy the
looking at
equipment.
maybe purchasing like I would think like an iPad and a tripod, I think is what we're looking at doing. Because I think that's going to be a good start for us. But I appreciate, and thank you everybody for letting me kind of dominate a little bit of the discussion here. So
I do. And this Osmo, they've upgraded it. Now it's an Osmo 5. And I just put the link into the into chat too, so folks have it.
Jack White had his hand raised.
I'm sorry, I'm not
is
watching
Jack
the
still on
stream.
there? Jack, are you still there? I guess not.
Unmute. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Matthews County too. We're down in the lowlands. But we'll have to get you out for lunch, pick your brain a little more. But we are also having issues about a booster, a signal. We're just, I don't know whether it's not penetrating into the club or anything. You have any quick thoughts about an easy fix?
Altitude. That's the only thing that works here. Altitude.
We don't
So-
have that.
Well, I will say we're all pretty flat though. So any booster you get, you got to get it up in the air. So there are directional boosters. They're pricey that have an antenna, but I've where we meet, we are in a dead zone too. We stream from my iPhone because the restaurant we go to doesn't really want to do internet. So I put my iPhone literally in the window of the restaurant, and I use wireless to go through and stream out. It's not pretty. And I'm trying to remember a brand or anything. I'm drawing a blank. I could probably find it. Maybe this might be, I don't know, folks. I don't know if I want to take everybody's email addresses, but well, I'll put mine in at least. You guys can email me with any specific questions. The WeBoost or something like that. Only their house unit really works, and I've thought about putting it on a pole on my truck. Literally, is just to have it so I could, put it in a little concrete little tube like for our flags for heroes, and sticking it up in the air and pointing it towards the tower. And most of the region here, I know it's different up north, but in our area, Verizon's dominant. So Verizon's the top of the tower, then AT&T, then Sprint, T-Mobile. So that's the order they come down the tower in. So that's why folks say Verizon signal out here is better.
Yeah, I have a question. In the mornings, when you come down to turn on all your equipment, do the lights dim in Middlesex?
Now, that's a whole nother thing. Yes, but many of the things nowadays are low power. So when, like, I don't have an easy way to show it to you unless I power that thing up. That camera sitting over there is plugged into one of these battery pack with, a cord. So I got to tell you, this comes in real handy, namely if you're doing like an iPhone. You don't have to plug it in the wall. Just plug it into a battery. How long are our meetings? An hour, hour and a half, something like that. So that'll work fine. Just plug it into a battery. But yeah, I use some power.
Diane had a question about your gimbal device you had earlier. Diane,
Yeah.
is that correct? What it's
Yeah, I
called?
think that's what he put the link into. Yeah, the link is
DJI.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
I have a whole bunch of links that I prepared too. I'll drop them in at the end, but I didn't want everybody to start clicking on stuff. Come on,
Other
guys.
questions?
More questions.
Other questions?
Also,
Anyone?
these work really well. Old GoPros. So
Mhm.
if anybody's got an old GoPro, these things run all the time. This one has probably been running for 2 or 3 years in my office. And it just died just recently. And this is really old. This is probably at least 10 years old. They're now on Hero 9 or 10 or something like that. So these work well. They typically have a fisheye to them though, so they're good for the audience kind of shot. But they're easy to wire up and everything, and they don't draw any juice really.
Other questions? Concerns?
Go for it.
Issues?
I saw a hand.
Mine's just a comment. If that's Peter Vu on the line, he's the best guy that ever lived.
Okay. Hey, Peter. Okay.
How are you?
Could I just, I'm curious, my Falls Church Rotary Club has and continues to just fail miserably at hybrid type meetings, but I was wondering what some other clubs might be doing, like, I know folks right now probably aren't meeting partially in person, but I know we've got people on from Tyson's and from, I think Barry Gordon from Fairfax is on somewhere. Could y'all chime in and let us know how things are going at your club meetings? No?
This is Barry Gordon. We went back to
Hey, Barry.
virtual because we couldn't make our hybrid work. The location we have is just impossible. And we don't have enough geeks in the club to facilitate the meetings. So we're going to try 2 in-person meetings when we can go back and 2 virtual meetings a month.
So on that piece, I do want to say some of the stuff, namely on the hardware side, if there's a way to get a geek, it can be set up in a way that it's not that difficult to manage. The hard part sometimes, like with the folks that are at home, is how do you navigate through sort of the camera doesn't work, the microphone doesn't work, even the thing I've been talking about, like the framing and stuff like that. So I did put together a video about how to do some basics, lighting, that kind of stuff. That would go a long way, is to get someone that is technical just to lend some advice, to getting you set up.
Where's this video at? On YouTube or something?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Search for you.
I was gonna say it's really bad. Hold on, I'll see if I can find it. It's similar to the things I just talked about, to be honest with you. But I'll keep looking. I saw another hand.
We'll pay your gas to come up here.
This is Pat Borowski. Greg, I mean, wouldn't you recommend to clubs? I mean, I think clubs have to think seriously about the places that they do meet. You have to look for places that are, first of all, ADA compliant, and secondly, that will support your virtual agenda, because hybrid meetings are here to stay. And you may not use them all the time, but you're going to use them more frequently than you assume. And if you're meeting at a location that isn't going to support that, you got to think long and hard about it.
That's actually a good point. And it may not be your call. The location itself may make the call for you. Well,
and I would challenge that a little bit too, is that you got to go have a serious discussion with them. Our restaurant's a little unique. It's really small, like little small town, little small stuff. So they're not ready for that yet. But if they're doing anything else, it's a way for them also, if they invested in some internet and let you do some wiring and things like that, you would be surprised. They might be able to attract other clubs and other events, and it's something that they can promote. So, I mean, how many times are they not using that little back room, behind the closed doors? This is a way for them to maybe leverage using that room.
Greg, for our Crystal City Pentagon, our issue is we meet in the morning. Most of our restaurants at 7:30 are closed, and we haven't found any place. But we want to record the meeting and put it on YouTube on our club website. What would you advise in terms of equipment to record the meeting and put it on our website.
Yeah, I once again, I'm going to tell you kind of the same thing we went through. Audio is number one. So if there's a way to get a, and I've got my PowerPoint closed. The little Behringer that I have that I think it's $79. Oh, actually, you know something? I had links planned to give everybody. I bet, did I put that in here? The, I bet, I thought I had, maybe I didn't. The little USB output with real microphone inputs is probably the first thing I'll recommend. And that can get plugged into a computer. The one I have, I think, is a 508. I could probably just quickly Google it. Behringer. Let's see it. It was 508.
I have a UMC 22 here, if you want me to hold that up.
Feel free. Yeah, here's
Where are you?
I think that's Mac.
I'm just going to bring this up real quick so you at least can see my idea. So this is one of these little simple devices. It takes in this little port is the microphone port. It has volume levels. It allows you to still bring in audio channels, like you could plug an iPhone or a MP3 player into it. It does have a little headset so you can check it yourself. And then it has a main out, and the main out goes out via USB port.
What is that called again? What is it? Oh, there it is.
USB.
Behringer.
Copy. Let me just see. There's one. I think I got the next model up from this. Bet you I can click on this right here and it'll take me. I've got the one that's $79, I think.
I like those prices. It's good.
Well, they're a value company. They're not.
Yeah. It's like the Harbor Freight. It's like the Harbor Freight of electronics, you know?
Think Harbor Freight. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, here's one with the 2 line. This one's bigger than I have. 2 lines, plus it has the ability to bring in line inputs for, like, instruments or something, like, guitars and all that kind of stuff. But in our case, we'd use it for, and then the microphones, this is the ones I showed you, the Rhodes, they're a little pricey. This wired microphone here is about $100.
Okay.
And then the wire, the kit, I don't know, little stand, probably like $20 or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But audio is number one. Number two is a camera. And we've been talking about, if you're going to go the computer route, the Brio is probably the best HD cam for up close. You got to be fairly close. And then everything else needs some type of zoom capability.
Yeah.
So I would lean towards plugging in an iPhone directly into the computer, or get a camera. And then there is I didn't put it out here. There is also HDMI to USB capture devices. They do run about $100, little dongles that you can plug into that'll capture any HDMI feed. But I'm going to come full circle back to, I'm a strong believer of the hardware switchers, because they do all that work for you, and it just turns all the video stuff, and you can put audio into it, into a webcam for the computer.
Pat just sent me a message asking me to ask Mac from the Rotary Club of Orange to speak about their excellent hybrid meeting and video process.
Well, so Orange County has a great, can y'all hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, so when I held up the DAC earlier, I had to mute myself because it was actually powering the microphone that I'm using now. So I just wanted to make sure it reconnected. So we're very fortunate because in Orange, there's a pretty substantial grant from the state to give everyone in the county fiber optic internet at some point, because the internet here in general is just abysmal. And one of the locations they have it is the Orange County Airport, which is where we host our meetings. And so we have just incredibly good internet there. And their conference room, they have a Logitech WeMeet, which is kind of like a roided out version of the Brio. It's a really nice webcam. And then we don't have a DAC setup. We just have a USB condenser mic. We have a Blue Yeti, which is also relatively cheap. The Snowball, which is also another microphone made by Blue, is also relatively cheap. And we got there this morning. We were actually a little bit late because whoever comes in person usually around that time was just not there. We've had pretty rough roads and sketchy weather lately. So the doors unlocked themselves at 8 o'clock when our meeting normally starts. And I had never set it up for the meeting before. I was standing in for someone, and in 5 minutes, everything was connected. And it looked really, really good, I think. So we have been doing it consistently for a while. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the question.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
What do you think of the Blue Yeti microphone? Is that a...
That's what we use. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. The other one is the Shure MV7.
Sure.
I think it is. They're both USB mics. And the nice thing about the Shure, I happen to know, I keep wanting to get one. Where's the knob? There's a volume knob on it. Is this not the one? Oh, this is the one with the slider. Don't like the slider. It must be the other. I got to look at the other one. There's a maybe it has with like a B at the end.
The Yeti has a knob. It has a volume knob on it and a hardware mute switch. But most importantly, I think the Yeti is only like $125 or $140 or something. I think it's significantly cheaper. I haven't checked in a long time. It might have gone up. The silicon shortage is something real.
Yeah. The advantage to getting a real microphone set up, like, you know, this one here, the Shure SM58 has to be the industry standard for microphones. And the advantage is the XLR cable. So the fact that you can run that cable a long distance and it doesn't gain any interference helps so much. And then you could run that to the back of the room where the person's sitting with a camera or somewhere in the room. That's probably the big advantage to having a real microphone.
Okay. Fayez, you have a question? Fayez? Are you there?
Second. Yes, actually, it's a wonderful presentation.
It's great.
Include the technical matters that if there a way, like we can get all the sources that we can buy, we can look for, because, you know, not everybody is high tech, and actually, our club, we are trying to meet virtual through Zoom successfully, and we try hybrid also, and it worked well. We bought a camera, but not the high resolutions one that you show all this equipment. We are ready to buy it even in our cost to increase you know, the performance of our meeting. Is there a way we can find it in one place, in like email, that we can get so we can look at it in a slow pace for us?
Well, Fayez, Greg was kind enough to load some links into the chat, and I will get a copy of the download. I'll get a download of the chat, and I'll send that out. I think you may find that helpful.
Thank you.
But I want to be careful that some of the stuff, it's not a list of equipment to buy and you'll be good to go. They all fit different needs,
right,
and different situations. Not everybody's room is the same. I know some of the clubs have, you know, 100 people sitting in a room. Ours has 20.
Yikes.
So, it all depends on the size of the room, how many people you need to talk to, how many camera, angles might you need, stuff like that. So it's not a one thing fits all. Plus, I want to be careful. We've been focused a lot on stream and the meetings. You guys are still, I'm sure, having events, even if it's the 1 day service project.
Right.
How do you capture those? So
Right.
I think it's something you need to look at for understanding your various use cases of what you might want to do, and how could you purchase the right equipment that could fit as many of those needs as possible. So, this is the program manager and me working for the government, get your requirements first, talk to a solution, talk to the industry, have the industry give you feedback.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
RFP.
But I think that list will give you a start of the links. You can just check. It's a start for stuff.
Yeah,
and I'm going to load this. I'll load this presentation on YouTube, as you may find that to be of some value too. You could review it.
It's Diane Hill. Could I don't know if this is a question, a comment, or what, but it seems to me that, is there a possibility that clubs meet on different days and times? Is there a possibility? I just want to throw this out that your club might partner with another club, and you buy some equipment, and then you use it on Tuesdays and they use it on Fridays.
Absolutely.
It's rare that you have an event at the same time. That might be something, or maybe that's something, Pat, you as DGE can encourage clubs to talk about, or when we're at the district conference or something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That just occurred to me.
No, it's a wonderful idea. We even tried doing that with our Flags for Heroes program, right? Trying to share between the different counties. And what happened around me? All the counties started the program on their own.
Yeah.
That's not fair. I wanted to get more flags for mine. So, but that's a wonderful idea. I think and then you guys saw the shot of all my equipment. I use those cheapo rigid boxes to tote all my stuff around. That works great.
Any more questions, folks? Is there anything in the chat that I missed?
I threw in a bunch of.
I saw that.
Yeah. Just by the way, someone else. I was talking about the noise. There's a little $10 ground loop thing. So if you ever have to put a long microphone cable on on something that it's called unbalanced, if you have to run like that Yeti and you put an extension on it, like a 5 or 6 or 10 foot extension on it, you can put one of these little ground loop boxes in, and there's the cheapo one, and you either use it or you don't, but there's others that have a switch on them too that'll flip the wires inside the tip. And so that's a great way to knock out line noise, because audio, if the audio is bad, it's not worth recording.
Right.
I think
Stan has it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Stan has his hand raised. You want to unmute yourself, Stan?
Yes, I just want to make a comment. I realize how fortunate we are here at the Middlesex Club. I'm the current president-elect here, and
you are.
I'm just always amazed at what Greg can do, and realize even more so how fortunate we are to have him as one of our members, and the expertise that he brings here and his willingness to share it with other clubs and others beyond, Christ Church School, and I just so glad I was able to sit in and listen to the conversation here today, and realizing how fortunate we are here at our club. So anyway, Greg, thank you so much, and wonderful presentation.
And that's a fitting comment, since it is Vocational Service Month.
That's right.
So
Greg
is sharing his professional skills with all of us. Thank you.
I'm looking forward. We had to postpone it because of COVID, but I'm looking forward to. We've had to start like a youth night. There's nothing for kids to do here, and so we're hoping to have it at the Y. And I offered to bring all this equipment in a big. I'm gonna bring like a TV and the monitors and stuff, and just let the kids play with it. And you'd be surprised how quick they'll come up with, like this thing with the lower thirds and graphics. Like this switcher here does, like it does super sourcing like, I don't know, do I have a, let me put it in program. So it'll do, where's my, it'll actually do, wrong camera, 4. It'll actually do super sourcing like you see on the news. So which camera, now I'm in my other camera though. So, you know, you can put the stuff at the bottom, like, you know, the newscast, who's being interviewed, all that kind of stuff, the questions they want to ask, and they can program that right into the device. And the funniest thing is I actually use this iPad to change it. So it disconnected. Connecting. So super, like you just let kids go wild. Here's the 4. Is it gonna? Yeah, you do the 4 camera.
Oh, nice.
Change it to this. You could do 3 up, lined up. So I'm really looking forward to letting kids go free on this. I think this would be a wonderful tool to let them, you know, learn some of this stuff. I don't know how to. I don't know how to tell kids that a shirt or a tie and a suit does not matter anymore. It's how good do you look on Zoom.
True.
That's it. If you don't have 1080p and a good internet connection, which I don't have. Yeah. By the way, no offense, I do like your suit and the red tie. But yeah, sorry.
That's true.
It's all the difference.
Yes.
Well, folks, anything else for Greg? Is there anything in the chat that I missed?
I know I wasn't really watching the chat. I'm sorry.
Well, I did, so I kind of was going through it. Diane, you see anything?
Nothing in the chat, but we got lots of people applauding.
Oh, it was great. It was a great
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
So I can see everybody.
Very informative.
Yeah.
Greg, I want to
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, well,
Thank you, Dave.
I did my best.
I have to go to my club meeting now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, everybody. If that's it.
Well, can I leave with one thing before we leave? One little thing.
Of course.
I keep trying to stress, I'm going to call it fellowship, but you know, and actually you don't spotlight me. The breakout rooms. I don't know that everybody's used breakout rooms. If there's a bunch of people left, I would love it if we could just turn that on. Do you have it active on your meeting?
Dave's the host, so I don't know if he had it set up.
I know I don't.
I did not set it up. No, I didn't set up any of that stuff.
Can you go down to the 3 dots and see if it shows as being available?
The 3 dots.
The more next to your lead?
I don't think he's got it when he activates, you know, when he set up the Zoom.
Oh, you don't have it turned on.
No, I did not.
I'm a co-host and I'm just seeing about the recordings.
Yeah.
The district system is a little bit different because you've got to decide what you want. You have to preset it and then you go into it. It's not as flexible as if it was my own Zoom commercial account.
Gotcha.
But Pat, it's like if those were set up, then you can accommodate it when you set up the Zoom. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Let's encourage everybody in their clubs that are using Zoom, whoever the host is, to turn on breakout rooms and give it a try.
Okay.
It's as simple as this. Whoever the host is can create the rooms, can name the rooms. The host can assign people to the rooms, which is helpful if you were doing like a classroom setting where you were going to have people go and do something for 15 minutes and then come back to the group with questions or something like that.
Right.
But you could have rooms named whatever you want. You know, out here it would be an osprey and eagles and, you know, oysters and rockfish, right? You know, so you would name the rooms. Let people go in there. I love the idea of starting the meeting a half an hour early or even longer, letting the people come in. And even as the host, I would like to be able to assign people all to one room as they come in. I can work with people as they come in with their technical issues, drop them in a place to talk. If there's too many people, they can move to another breakout room. You know, it's like, hey, Bill, you and I, you want to go to the Osprey room? Let's go to the Osprey room. And you guys go off to the Osprey room. I really think as folks get over the initial learn how to use Zoom, hit the buttons and stuff like that, we need to introduce these other features that give us that social experience that we're all missing. And we're desperate for it and we're not getting it. We did it I did it. Yes. Well, I'm already forgotten what day it is. I
It's
did
Tuesday.
it on Monday. I was hosting a local MLK day for the NAACP. We all got on. Everybody got on early. They all muted. They all were doing really well with Zoom. They sat there for 15 minutes in dead silence.
Yes, we do.
Said
that.
a couple of things.
That happens a lot.
And I was so disappointed. I'm like, this is your chance to talk. And I turned it
Right.
on, and then I was like, and at the end of the meeting, I said, you know, does anybody want to stay and talk or ask questions of, you know, the speaker? And I basically put him in meeting room 1, and I slowly trained 20 people on how to use breakout rooms, and they all went to meeting. They all went to the one room, which was
The one
hilarious.
room.
Yeah. They all went in to talk to the speaker.
Of course.
And Robert was a great speaker, but it was just a matter of, and I jumped in the room real quick, took a listen, and I'm like, yeah, there it is. You know, it was exactly perfect.
Can I just say, Greg, I think what you just described, that would be an awesome follow-on public image Zoom session to,
Sure.
you know, like
Teach how to,
teach us how to do it.
And can I-
We wanted to facilitate that.
And can I make a suggestion, Greg? The way that you presented that, you also have to help clubs understand they need an initiator that will help people begin the conversation. And even if they're just, you know, coming in early, you need that initiator who is going to be kind of the cheerleader to get everybody going. Once you do that, then they're like, bam.
let me tell you this. I think the names of our chairs are starting to change.
Did you have to sign
We should-
passcode last time?
Hey Barry, would you put yourself on mute?
Well,
Hey,
try
Barry,
it
yeah.
without it.
I think that would be a great suggestion to put out to all the presidents, that they all need to name an engagement chair. You know, I admit it's probably the rah-rah person, but you know, they need a little bit of tech training,
Right.
but I do think it's a wonderful idea.
This is Jim Holcomb. I nominate Dave Borowski.
I think what Greg just described, it's like an enhanced sergeant at arms or
Yeah.
part of a sergeant at arms team or something, you know, a more modern sergeant at arms.
A more up-to-date techie sergeant of arms.
Well, it's the same kind of prep that we do today. Like, you know, someone brings the, you know, the Rotary History Minute, you know, or you've got the joke of the day, or, you know, there's people that have all these little things that they do.
Yes,
It's
they
no
do.
different. You know, you just got to bring those things to the meeting and prepare. At least that's, you know,
Well, it makes
our club
sense,
does a great
absolutely.
job at it. We're small, so we only get a dozen or so people on, you know, maybe up to 20. So we can actually have a good exchange in one screen. We don't actually need breakout rooms, but some of the clubs that are 30, 40 people deep,
Right.
everybody talks over one another. So
Yeah, they do. Yeah, we have a big club, 58, or sort of a big club.
yeah, so you need 10
you
need a dozen breakout rooms that are pre-built, but not pre-assigned, and let people just drop in and have their conversation. One of them can be labeled, you know, Dave's slides from his fishing trip. Now, I don't know, you know, whatever it is.
It'd be a visit to Giant, picking up a haddock from Giant.
There you go.
Okay, great. So yeah, but maybe in the future, maybe in a month or so, we can do another one with you talking about breakout rooms. Because I don't use, I've been in them. I've never instigated a breakout room.
Yeah, you ought to just get one created for the district so you guys could test it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Just let me know, and I'll be happy to jump in
Sure.
for a test, and we can.
February is a
can
great
figure out how to
month to do that program.
Sure.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, great. We'll talk with Greg and see if he can do this. Okay, folks, anything else? Any more questions? But it was a great presentation. Greg, thank you very much. It was very,
No problem.
as usual, it's very informative. And we will be in touch with the district conference. Help that we
I'm
desperately
disappointed
need.
I didn't get to show off all the gear around me though.
Well, good. Lord, you showed off a lot of it.
Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
I'll put my email back in here one more time.
sure.